Hi guys, Tuka here with a new video, and this video is my solution towards the solo shuffle problem, and I want to discuss about the fact of the matter, right? I'm going to talk about the post I've made on X, if you want to Twitter. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Togre YouTube. Again, I don't have a lot of following, I'm not doing a lot of posts, but I felt like I wanted to share my thoughts about solo shuffle. So everyone has the same issues for solo shuffle right now. It is either the MMR is capped first and foremost, and it's very hard to actually climb for everyone. Healers more than DPS, although they have like instant queues, it's still even worse for them than for us. And the queue times are disgusting for DPSers. Even for healers at higher MMR, the queue times are very high because people are not queuing, because why bother? You cannot really climb until a certain rating, and even then you're punished because you're actually facing other healers that are very low MMR, so you only lose MMR versus them, except if you're going for a 6-0, which, let's be honest, a lot of healers have difficulties to go 6-0 in general. So I'm gonna talk about the solution behind this problem. Let me change a few things. I think it's better like this. All right. So I want to read my Twitter post, but also give a bit more insight. So again, I'm going to be precise and more throughout on my thoughts. So what did I write? The issues with Solo Shuffle is that it's an individual MMR-based game mode with a team-based 3v3 arena basis. Let me explain. You're playing as a team versus another team. You're going to shuffle every single round, but you're punished and you're rewarded as an individual. So it means that often than not, you only have one winner and one big loser. Or you have one winner and three losers. If you like playing DPS and you're going 6-0, your other teammates are going to go 2-4. And they are going to all lose MMR. If you're a healer, you are either a winner, a break even, or a big loser. And that's the issue. You have often and not a problem with the balancing of the MMR. Like I said, the MMR will always be tough to either balance, inflate, or deflate, and will solely work with great participation. If the participation is working as, like say, Season 1, beginning of Season 1, where queues were actually very fast, the inflation was also here. A lot of people actually like got 2.5k, 2.6k in the first week, and people were pushing till 3.5k until the end of the season. At that point, the participation was quite high, and then it dwindled down at the end, especially with the red patch 10.2. We all remember, I think I made a video about Retribution being super fun, and even those videos were like scoring very high, because again, a lot of people were playing Retribution Paladin because they love Retribution, but it didn't really felt like it was good enough to play. And then everyone jumped on the hype train, and we all knew what actually became of it. So whenever we have bad participation, we have actually a big deflation. It's not like Blizzard actually wants the MMR to be deflated. I think just purely you cannot inflate a participation that is really low, because it doesn't work. You have somewhat MMR system, it's a zero sum game, by the way. So if you're winning, someone is going to lose. So you have a graphic which is from 0 to, let's say, 3k MMR. You cannot have 5% of people being at 2.4k. So obviously, if you have a little amount of players that is playing Solo Shuffle, you only have a handful of people actually reaching those heights. And then you have the bigger portion of player base, which is around 1.6k and 1.8k. And then you have lower and lower and lower the higher you go, and also lower and lower and lower the lower you go. So this is purely how MMR works. It works also in League of Legends like this, in Dota it works like this, in Overwatch it works like this. It is not like a infinite grind that you could do with M+, where you're not really competing with each other except for the rank 1 titles. I don't know if there is a rank 1 title for Mythic Plus, but if there is, that's the only competition you have. You only compete with yourself, and that's it. While in Solo Shuffle, you're competing versus other people. And it's even worse with healers, because they are competing straight directly versus each other. So If you are a healer and the first games you're doing are losses, like round based, like if you lose the 3 first rounds, you already know that you're going to have a bad game, because either you're going to break even or you're going to lose an MMR or CR, and depending on the enemy in front of you, you could lose massive amounts of MMR and CR. But let's talk a bit further down the line. In any team based game, League of Legends, Overwatch, Dota, whatever on your mind, has the team win or lose together. Doesn't matter how they perform as individuals. And performance could dampen the loss or win of CR or LP or whatever measurement they are using in that game. So for example, in League of Legends, if your MMR is that big and you are in you're chain winning, you won 10 games in a row and you're going to lose that one game, the amount of LP, which is called CR in World of Warcraft, is going to be a lot less than, let's say, someone is chain losing. So you're going to dampen your loss based on performances on the past, and you're going to then have an easier time to climb or a harder time to climb depending on that. It's not a perfect world either. League of Legends, some people have to create a second account to actually be able to climb further, because they are like in a negative spiral where even winning 2 games doesn't make up a loss. But again, it's their problem. But for us in World of Warcraft, we have a whole other problem, which is the queue times, the MMR system being capped, and the MMR just not being rewarding enough to actually continue on climbing. And also the rewards in general feels bad, that if you're 1600 or 1800, to be honest, you feel bad for yourself because you cannot reach like certain rewards that you would like to reach, but it's very hard because it's a percentile based game. So it's very hard to be top 5% if you're not really top 5% performing player, right? So the issue with Soul Shuffle is everyone wins alone or loses alone. So if you're a DPS and you're going 6-0, you're the only one winning something, or the other allies has a lot of MMR and they don't have a lot of CR, they catch up the MMR, but that's it. If you are 6-0ing as a DPS, you're actually making 3 people lose in your team, and then you have like 2 healers that are going to break even, which unfortunately you don't have a lot of benefits from that as well. It's like you didn't play the game. If you're a healer and you're going 6-0, you have 4 DPSs actually going 3-3, which all 4 are going to break even and don't have any benefit from it, especially since the queue times are long. You're going to wait 40 minutes to get 0 CR, 0 MMR, 0 progress. Basically, you didn't play. And that's a bad feeling. And that's why I'm actually proposing a new thing. So I'm going to read a bit further. If you're a healer and you lost your first 3 matches, you're already going to either break even at best, depending if your MMR is higher, same or lower than the healer against you. So imagine you're breaking even and you have a higher MMR than the healer against you. You're going to get even punished for a break even, win or loss, like a 3-3. You're going to lose. So basically, you're not encouraged to actually queue, because if you're queuing, you have 2 losing options, which is a break even, and depending on your luck, you're either facing someone that is lower MMR than you or same MMR than you, or you're losing and you're going to lose MMR or CR regardless. Except if you're lucky and they have a bigger MMR than you, then you're lucky. You're going to get some MMR and CR to compensate that loss. But it's not a good system, because you're going to punish your players 2 times out of 3. So why would you do that? Why would you keep that way? It's not possible to have a sane environment with that logic. And again, I think Soul Shuffle, I love the idea. I think Soul Shuffle, it works very well how it is, because of like a concept. If you're always shuffling, the dependency of your teammates are very low, because again, you're playing with everyone, so you got a chance with everyone. But the issue is, drawing as a DPS is a huge time sink. Losing as a DPS is a time sink, and also you're going to lose a lot of progression. And if you're winning, depending on how you win, you don't win a lot, or you don't win enough, or you win a lot, depending on these situations. But you make other people lose even more. So it's a very individual game-based game mode, which basically just is going to oppress the other persons in your team against you, and every time you're shuffling, they're going to be discussed. Anyways, or lose considerable CR MMR, again depending on the MMR or of the other healer. So it frankly doesn't promote doing your best, since you can only dampen your loss or at best try to make the game irrelevant with a break even. This is for healers. DPSers have issues too, which are also having games that you know you're going to suffer a loss. So why bother? So for example, if you lose the 3 first rounds as a DPS, you already know you're going to have a bad time because you're either going to break even because luckily the other healer is very bad, or luckily the other DPS is very bad. But you only can win 3 rounds and make it at best not relevant in your MMR CR range. Or you're going to lose another one and then you lost 4 games, and then why bother actually try hard because you already lose that much. So you'll try to dampen and try to recuperate your loss. Like if you're betting on a team, you lose with that team and you're going to cash back with it and try to play on for the other team to actually gain something out of it. It's just so bad in the pure moral thing that I understand why participation is at all-time low right now for Soul Shuffle. So queue times, stress of having to play 6 rounds, which often the 3 first rounds decide if you're going to either win or lose or break even, which is incredibly stressful for a healer and disheartening for a DPS that sits queues for 20 minutes plus across different MMR, and longer if higher MMR. Again, you can have lower queues, that's why it's a plus minus, but you can also certainly have very long queues. I got 40 minutes queues on a 1800 MMR tune, which I think should not happen. A 40-minute queue in a multiplayer game. Would you sit 40 minutes into a Call of Duty lobby to try to get a Call of Duty game started? I would personally not do that. If, for example, in Warzone I try to queue for something, it takes 5 minutes, I try to even re-queue because it feels bugged. That's how it feels. And whenever someone is sitting 40 minutes, again, depending on your activity, if you're studying or you're working, it's already fitting. But if you're really there to play and you have only one evening with 2 hours like left, it's very disheartening to be sitting one time out of 2 the queues. I would say 1 hour of the 2 hours, sit them and try to have enjoyment out of those queues. And if you're losing, it's even worse, and you're going to actually lose a lot of progress just by sitting in queues. So the only true solution for Soul Shuffle to exist in a sane environment and sane MMR system is to break away from the round-based gameplay. I do love the round-based gameplay because I'm going to be honest, I sometimes play specs that are not very well versatile. For example, Enhancement Shaman, if you have a bad comp, you're shit out of luck. It is what it is at the end. But because of Soul Shuffle and how you actually change teammates, you have some luck there. But again, since there is only like one individual winning often than not, and the others are either break even or losing, it feels very bad like as a whole because you're not promoting a team-based gameplay. You're there actually hoping that you have a good teammate and you can maybe shave off or steal a game from them the other rounds. So I don't really feel like it's a good system for MMO PvP like World of Warcraft. Although the idea is ingenious, it's really a good idea, but I don't think it works in practice, unfortunately. Again, we have like tested for 3 seasons, and for 3 seasons we have some MMR issues or healer queue issues or whatever, which will fix the MMR issues because it's either a win or a loss, and based on performances maybe lower or higher MMR games. So if you go away from the Soul Shuffle based round based gameplay and you actually choose to be a 3v3 1 round, you win or you lose as a team. The queue times might be the same, but at least you know, look, it's a 1 round, you're going to win or you're going to lose, but at least you know that the MMR is going to be affected positively or negatively in that same round. While, for example, 6 rounds, you could lose the 3 first rounds and then you have the stress of actually being able and to try to catch up those losses and to try to break even, like you're betting on a team and you're losing on that team. I mean, it's really not sane, in my opinion, for just gameplay. It makes a bit of an addicting gameplay because, again, if you're winning 6-0, it feels super great. But do you want that as a PvP system instead of the competitive environment where you could be literally playing for each other and against each other? But for example, which means it becomes like a 3v3, just a win or a loss of 1 round and going back into the queue, which will not speed up queues in my opinion. Maybe it will, but in my opinion it will not. But at least will make up the MMR be more fair. The negatives of that is that you can have very bad matchups, which is true. Soul Shuffle kind of dampens the bad matchups, although you can have bad lobbies anyways, but it does make it possible to have some good matchups within those lobbies. And it will be more the teammate dependent. If someone is throwing, yeah, too bad, you're going to lose MMR. It is what it is at the end of the day. But it's the same for League of Legends, the same for Dota, the same for any other game really. So why do we want to make World of Warcraft special in that regard? That's my opinion. The next solution would be to implement that 3v3 queue. So first you separate those queues. Solo Shuffle becomes 3v3 solo queue, it's only one round. And then the next evolution of that queue would be, the solution would be to implement that 3v3 queue inside a 3v3 bracket, which you can play as a duo queue. For example, if you're queuing with a healer, incentivize the faster queues because you have a healer friend, so obviously your queues are going to be faster. And it will also make you feel like, look, if you're a healer and you're a DPS and I'm a DPS, let's play one round with you as a healer and one round with me as a healer, and we switch every time so we get to play every single time. And the system will prefer to make you face other duo queues or solo queuers. So if you're a solo queue and you're with other solo queuers, you're going to face a full team of solo queuers. It will make the queues probably faster or longer depending on the participation, but at least it will be fair where you're not going to face a 3v3 comp versus you that is actually playing with each other, like for example was Meh and Raikou, for example. You're not going to face those three if you're solo queuing. But if you're a duo queue, you're going to face another duo queue with another solo queue with yourself also having a solo queue. And it will also fix queue times for a bit, because again, it will fix MMR issues because you're winning together or you're losing together, like a League of Legends game, like an Overwatch game, like a Dota game, like any other competitive PvP game that is team-based gameplay. You're not playing Tekken 1v1, you're playing 3v3 and you're actually punished as an individual and you're winning as an individual in solo shuffle. So it doesn't work right now. It just doesn't work. It's either inflated because of participation or it's deflated because of participation. You don't have it in between. So this will fix queue times for a bit, will fix MMR issues, will maybe make friends on the way. Oh look, the DPS we got is actually great, let's team up. And after the game, there could be a pop-up, for example, would you like to invite the other guy to join your group as a 3-man? And then you just send an invite and he will accept or he will deny, but at least you have the option to socialize again in this game. Oh my god, we are playing an MMORPG, we all forgot about that. Too bad, right? And again, I'm also a very proponent of solo queue just in general. I like to solo queue, but I think having the option to maybe play as a duo queue inside of 3v3 and find another mate so that you can maybe bond together at one point and maybe you can progress together and then have friends and again have a Battle.net farming, I would say, session as a solo queuer to actually have other duo queuers or other solo queuers to play with. I think it's a good idea, and toxicity will be at all-time low because you only win or lose one round, so you're not going to feel like you're losing that round and then the next round the other guy is tryharding and he's playing perfectly and you're going to lose also versus him. So then you're frustrated and you see that healer popped CDs against me, but with me he didn't do that. So then you build up some frustration and the toxicity just gets built up. And toxicity is not only a player issue, it's a dev and game issue. People should work on it to fix it. And it's not only like stop being toxic, but it's also trying to remove some toxic features from the thing. For example, League of Legends, they removed the ability to see other other names in the lobby, so you don't search them on a third-party website to then ban their champions to be toxic. Now you cannot do that, right? So they removed the toxic feature outside of the game, although the players are maybe toxic, but at least that feature is not going to enable that toxicity from the player. And that should be the same for World of Warcraft. But anyways, again, it will fix the LFG since you could solo queue 3v3 and maybe find teammates like this, but also would have great participation because all the great rewards comes from there. Everyone wants to be 3v3 full glad with a glad mount. In solo shuffle, you only get a title, by the way, and that title only lasts if you're a rank 1 player. If you're not a rank 1, that legend title is going to go away, like your elite title is going to go away after the season. You get like a pennant and maybe something like neat, but that's it. You don't get really good rewards. and that will help the rewards inside of that bracket. And then you have other problems, like for example rewarding the brackets, but I think that's another issue in general. But I think that could revive first and foremost 3v3. It will maybe also revive 2v2. Maybe you could do the same system for 2v2, and it will make it interesting to again find teammates, play as a solo queue or play as a duo queue to speed up queues, or play as a 3v3 and you're going to face other 3v3 teams. So non-flavor of the month specs will have games as well, since it's a solo queue, because let's face it, a Frost DK to try to find a team in LFG is going to be more difficult than as an unholy DK, so you don't have to fake your unholy DK to then play Frost DK once you're in game. For the 3v3 teams, don't worry, you're facing other 3v3 teams, and the MMR is going to be the same. So again, you're going to see that it's going to be probably easier to climb as a 3v3 team, but the goal of that bracket is actually to make you find other teammates to play in. The solo queue part is going to be cool because you're going to play versus other solo queuers or duo queuers, but the end goal is that those duo queuers are going to invite that third guy, and that solo queuer is going to invite the other solo queuers together to maybe be a team and play on Discord or play in game, or if they don't want to do that, they can just chill and solo queue all the way. But at least you get the option. But right now with Solo Shuffle, it just is a toxic environment where you don't really find a lot of friends in general, but also you only have one winner. So it's a bitter feeling where you're kind of happy that guy won with you, but you know that actually it would be better if he lost versus you, so you can actually benefit from it. But that's my idea, which again will populate the bracket even more, but also your 3v3 team will have to face other 3v3 teams like right now. I think it's also a great time to then have the system of a spec is your rating kind of thing, because you will have a solo queue, you will have a duo queue, you will have the 3v3 teams, but then you can actually play Shadow Priest. And if you feel like you're getting 2k rating and you want to play healer, you're not going to ruin your 3v3 rating. You can actually play solo queue as a disc priest or duo queue as a disc priest, and that disc priest rating is going to be just your disc priest rating. Or you're going to go 3v3 as well, but at least you play as disc priest, and that rating will only be counting for 3v3. And also for disc priest, excuse me. So that will be a good system. I think that's a good system from Solo Shuffle, and that should be implemented in 3v3. I understand a lot of people don't want to climb, but then that's why you actually kind of inflate a bit the MMR gains and the CR gains from every single loss and win. So if you're winning, you're gaining more than just 15 points. Maybe you would win 30 points, and then it just becomes like you trying to climb as high as you can and as fast as you can, but also on a pace that is logical for a World of Warcraft PvP system. So you could play solo queue or 3v3 with a different spec without affecting your MMR. I think that's actually a very cool system in Solo Shuffle, and I think that should be implemented for 3s. I would even say for 2s. I don't know if many people will read all of this, and hopefully a lot of people do watch the video, but this is the only solution for Solo Shuffle to have a good MMR system, but also queue times being not long. And this is to actually say F to Solo Shuffle. It was a good experiment, and finally bring it where it belongs, which is 3v3, end of the thread. So I'm going to give another insight about it. Again, I tried to be positive. I tried to give real solutions, because again, I watched the videos from Venruki, I watched the videos from Supatis, I watched a lot of Reddit threads, I watched everyone, but the fairy tale of just inflate the ladder is not going to work if the ladder is not populated. It just is what it is at the end of the day. Because if it's that simple, then everyone will have 2k rating, and it's not MMR system anymore. And I'm okay for everyone to be higher rated to get rewards, but do you want to have a competitive ladder where it makes sense that you have a somewhat lower end of the ladder, a middle end of the ladder, and a high end of the ladder? Again, I am not a rank 1, so I'm not going to say that for benefiting me, but it's logical because every single game has that. You cannot just inflate the ladder and you don't care about the participation, because it will never work. Because again, you will have a cap, you will have to face better players than you, and those better players are going to end up in the same bracket as you, and of course you're going to face each other, and it will be a status quo. You're going to lose versus them, you're going to win versus them, and you will not progress anymore. That is not the issue. The issue is the Q times, the MMR for healers, and why Soul Shuffle is actually just rewarding the individuals instead of a team-based effort, which is 3v3. It is not a 1v1 system. If you take Solo Shuffle MMR system and you go for a 1v1 bracket, it will work splendid because the MMR will work how it is intended, a 1v1 like a chess game. But it is not a chess game, it is a 3v3 based game, which you can then see, okay, what is working currently in our gaming landscape? Overwatch, League of Legends, Dota, CSGO even. CSGO is like, CS2, excuse me. It is not CSGO anymore. Even CS2, which I think is not the best because the progression is not very clear, they have a logical climb and it's performance based also. If you have a great game, you get more MMR. If you have a bad game, you get a bit less MMR even though you won. I can go further. Even Smite has that. Every single MMR game that has a team-based game mode has the team either win or lose together. So why not World of Warcraft? Why do we force Soul Shuffle to be a thing? I love Soul Shuffle. I love Soul Shuffle because it is solo queue. But you could have solo queue in 3v3 and not have round-based gameplay, which will remove the toxicity behind it. Because again, it is toxic if you are playing very bad with a teammate and then you play godly versus them. Obviously, they are going to be very mad because they're going to say, but why didn't you play like this with me? And the same for themselves. They would play very bad and then they play very good, and it's unfair for the other teammates. So it's not only like something that you could remove, but basically take away by having just a purely 3v3 1-based game mode. And the issues are, is the queue time is going to be worth it at the end of the day? I think at the end it will have fast queue times if you actually make up with the LFG system being there, but also if you're like a solo queue and you're playing with a duo queue and you're actually bonding together for some reason, you could have a 3v3 team and then the queue times are like non-existent. That's the thing that will help the MMR system. There are a few selfish propositions from a lot of colleagues of mine, which again, it will help us DPSers, but it will not help the healers, which is basically say, oh, Soul Shuffle should also have a 2v2 queue. Look, 2v2 queue, double DPS, it's good for DPSers, but it will not resolve the issues for healers. So basically you're going to say, get the hell out of here, healer, we don't need you, we have 2v2 queues. But the issue is we want healers to be still in the game, because at the end of the day, what is the most important bracket as a whole? It's Soul Shuffle 3v3 queue and 3v3 bracket. And also 2v2. I love 2v2. I would have more incentives for it. But right now, those are the important brackets if you want to have rewards. So what we want to do is actually merge the 3v3 with the Soul Shuffle one and try to bring some socialized aspect to it with like a pop-up every single game, like would you like to invite that other guy with you, or would you like to group up together, and then you have like a check mark. If everyone wants to group up together, boom, you have a threes team, and then it goes well, you could add yourself in Battle.net and you can go further beyond. So I think again it's a bit egocentric for me to say that my idea is the best, but my idea is really the best. I think just inflating the ladders is not enough. I think just bringing rewards would help, but it's not only that. The MMR is the problem, but how do you fix the MMR in an individual-based MMR system in a team-based game mode? It is not going to work as intended, except the only thing that is going to work is if the participation is sky high and the healers are sky high as well. And they actually reward healers not on an MMR based system, but more like you win or you lose, don't care about the MMR, and that's it. That's the only way, but it will not remove the unfairness of Soul Shuffle sometimes. It will not remove the toxicity of Soul Shuffle sometimes. It will not remove the frustration of queue times for DPSers. It will just alleviate in the ladder you will see the top 100 will be healers with that system, because you would say, we don't care about MMRs for healers, you either win or you lose, and you get plus 20 or minus 20, and if you're doing a draw, you get plus 10. It's going to work in the direction of healers will be able to climb very fast, but it will not help DPSers. So are you going to say F it to 70% of the population of World of Warcraft PvP? I don't know. So that's why my proposition, I think, is bringing everyone together. Try to incentivize duo queuing, like for example in solo queue RPGs where you can duo queue as a healer, and then you are going to incentivize, look, you want to have healers into your group so you can have faster queues. So those are my propositions. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. I know that sometimes I'm high energy and sometimes it feels like I'm a bit pushy, but I do feel like this system is probably the best, even though I'm saying that myself. I think that's the future. So you don't have like 5 brackets, because remember, we will have 2v2, 3v3, we will have solo shuffle, we will have solo queue RPGs, and we will have RPGs. So we will have 5 brackets, and you already know there's one failing, which is solo shuffle. You have the other one that is also failing, which is RPGs like the normal ones, 10v10. And then you have solo queue RPGs where we don't know, and then we have 3v3 that is also failing because participation, because everyone is going for solo shuffle and waiting in queues instead of like trying to find a teammate to play in 3v2 or in 2v2. 2v2 having no real reward, so the bracket is deflated anyways in any part of the season. So the only queue that is actually like somewhat of a safe queue to play is 3v3, but people are like not playing 3v3 because they prefer to play solo queue, which I understand. I also prefer solo queue, but the system is failing. So what we need to do is actually take the best out of solo shuffle, take the best out of 3v3, merge it together, try to fix the MMR system with that thing, and try to reward all brackets. So the 1000 CR players are rewarded, the 1.2 CR players are rewarded, the 1.4, the 1.6, the 1.8, the 2k, the 2.1k, the 2.4k, everyone gets rewarded, so you don't feel bad for being a mid player. Because again, I think a lot of players actually feel bad for being 1.8k, while 1.8k is probably top 20%. So you're feeling bad for being top 20% inside of a PvP game mode. I think it's like ludicrous. So again, try to upheaval everyone. Again, non-pun intended for augmentation evoker, but I think trying to bring everyone to a good level, to a good sentiment of, I love to play this game, I love to sit in queue for this, I love to find other teammates to be able to play faster, and I love to try to progress. But if I'm not progressing, at least I'm sitting at a range where I feel like, look, I'm still rewarded for my time. And that is something that's very important for a lot of players, in my opinion. You want to keep the elitists, the veterans, but you also want to keep the casuals. You want to keep the PvP fans that are not really progressing, unfortunately, because of time restrictions or because of skill or because of knowledge or whatever, but you want to keep them as well. Because again, if you have no bases, how do you build a pyramid at the top? I think that's the end word. So again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.